Imagine you're on the muddy trenches on the Western Front during World War I. You're wet and shivering and can't get warm. Your days are marked by sleeplessness, fear, and cigarettes that are too soggy to light. Death is all around you. On the other side, across from no man's land, are enemy soldiers. With advancements in technology, your comrades are mowed down by machine guns in numbers beyond imagination. But you have no time to mourn, just fight, lest you suffer the same fate. But then, amid unrelenting violence, the bloodshed and brutality suddenly stop. You put your weapons down, cross the enemy lines, shake hands, and pose for photos with your foe, even play a game of soccer or football. To this day, it remains one of the strangest moments in the history of war. On Christmas Eve, 1914, Captain Arthur O'Sullivan of the British Army's Royal Irish Rifles was stationed in France on the northern border with Belgium. The guns were silent, and he heard a German voice say,
"Do not shoot after 12 o'clock, and we will not do so either. If you English come out and talk to us, we won't fire."
Was it a trick? There was only one way to know for sure. An Irishman dared to venture out to no man's land, the area between the opposing armies' trenches, and was not shot at. When he reached the German side, an enemy soldier gave him a cigarette. When he returned safely, his comrades clambered out of the trench and went to meet the Germans halfway across no man's land. Their superiors would be forgiven for reacting with more caution. Brigade headquarters cabled back, warning,
"It is thought possible that enemy may be contemplating an attack during Christmas or New Year. Special vigilance will be maintained during this period."
At 8:30 p.m. that night, Captain O'Sullivan's commanding officer, Colonel George Laurie, reported to headquarters,
"Germans have illuminated their trenches, are singing songs and wishing us happy Christmas. Compliments are being exchanged, but am nevertheless taking all military precautions."
Colonel Laurie described the Germans as
"Fine men, clean and well clothed. They gave us a cap and helmet badge and a box of cigars. One of them states that the war would be over in 3 weeks as they had defeated Russia."
Despite thinking the war would be over soon, World War I would actually last 4 years, leaving 10 million soldiers dead, and about as many civilians. Yet, for a fleeting moment, good appeared to triumph over evil. Instead of exchanging bullets, sworn enemies exchanged handshakes. Colonel Laurie later recalled,
"You have no idea how pleasant everything seems with no rifle bullets or shells flying about."
Further down the line, a German officer who was a tenor in the Berlin Opera began singing Silent Night in both German and English, encouraging his comrades, whose voices flowed over to the British trenches. The contrast between the Christmas carol's message of peace and the violence of war was striking. The same spirit of camaraderie sprung up in various sectors along the front, which weaved more than 400 miles through France and Belgium. Soldiers later wrote to their loved ones expressing their disbelief over what had occurred. British soldier Private Frederick Heath described in his letter home that he heard the Germans say,
"Come out, English soldier, come out here to us." For some little time we were cautious and did not even answer. Officers, fearing treachery, ordered the men to be silent. But up and down our line, one heard the men answering that Christmas greeting from the enemy. How could we resist wishing each other a Merry Christmas, even though we might cut each other's throats immediately afterwards? So we kept up a running conversation with the Germans, all the while our hands ready on our rifles. Blood and peace, enmity and fraternity, war's most amazing paradox. The night wore on to a dawn, a night made easier by songs from the German trenches, the pipings of piccolos, and from our broad lines, laughter and Christmas carols. Not a shot was fired.
The front page of the Illustrated London News showed a German soldier approaching the British lines with a small tree as a sign of a truce. Very cautiously, Allied and German soldiers climbed out of their trenches and crossed no man's land, where they shared drinks with their enemies, as depicted in the film Joyeux Noël.
I don't think anyone would criticize us for laying down our rifles on Christmas Eve.
Don't worry, it is just for tonight.
The guns remained silent on Christmas Day. Although there were accounts of fighting in some sectors, The Imperial War Museums believes the truce extended along at least 2/3 of the British-held trench line in southern Belgium. German and British soldiers can be seen standing together in photographs taken on personal cameras that the soldiers brought into the trenches with them. It was not easy for them to communicate. However, what they did have in common was an interest in sports. A British private described at least a couple hundred soldiers kicking around a football. This was one of several impromptu soccer matches played in no man's land. Amongst the joy, there was sadness, as both sides also used this opportunity to recover the bodies of their fallen comrades and give them a decent burial, which they couldn't do in the heat of battle. Headlines around the world spread the news of the Christmas truce, which must have seemed incredulous to the public, especially since British government propaganda portrayed German soldiers as ruthless, barbaric monsters. And yet, the British were seen mingling with the enemy? A German lieutenant recalled,
How marvelously wonderful, yet how strange it was. The English officers felt the same way about it. Thus, Christmas, the celebration of love, managed to bring mortal enemies together as friends for a time.
For a time is right, because the following day, they went back to shooting each other. Strict orders came down from the pike, and they had to retreat back to their trenches. This would be the only widespread Christmas truce during the course of the entire 4-year war. High commands on both sides prohibited fraternizing with the enemy, and the war became increasingly bitter after the introduction of poison gas the following year, and the number of casualties began to pile up. The Christmas truce of 1914 was such an anomaly, so hard to believe, that over time, some people doubted that it even happened, despite all the evidence to the contrary. British machine gunner Bruce Bairnsfather, who later became a prominent cartoonist, depicted the truce in his work. In this cartoon, he shows himself taking a fancy to the buttons of the German officer. They agreed to do a swap. In his memoirs, Bairnsfather described the incredulity of it all.
Here they were, the actual, practical soldiers of the German army. There was not an atom of hate on either side.
Even in the darkest hour, good triumphed over evil, if just for a day. They had gotten to know the enemy and realized they were more alike than they thought. Making these videos takes up a lot of my time, so I like to make sure the rest of my day is as hassle-free as possible. And that's down to the wallet that I use. So this is the wallet that I used to use, and this is the wallet that I currently own, an Extra wallet. It's clearly a lot more sleek and simpler. I actually started using an Extra wallet before the company approached me to see if I was interested in getting them to sponsor some of my videos. And I said, of course, yes. I absolutely love Extra wallets. They're super simple to use. All you have to do is press this button, and then you get access to all your cards. I especially love this model in particular because there's a spot to put my AirTag, which is very convenient because I don't have to spend time looking for my wallet in the house. I know where it is at all times. There are so many models to choose from. You can check them out on their website. Extra also sent me this really cool wallet. This is made of carbon fiber. It's super sleek and very minimalistic, and I absolutely love the design. To go along with it, you can also get yourself a smart tracking card. Extra's runs on solar power. All it needs is 3 hours in the sun, and it lasts 2 months. If you'd like to try out an Extra wallet, you can get 20% off if you head to the custom link in my description. That's shop.extra.com/newsthink, shop.extra.com/newsthink for 20% off. Thanks so much for watching. For Newsthink, I'm Cindy Pom.